Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to In My Bag. Today, I am joined by none other than the legend, Joe Montana. Joe is joining us. He's a brand ambassador for Guinness, which is the new official beer for Notre Dame alumni. Joe, I'd love to just start right there. Tell me a little bit about why you became a brand ambassador and what you're doing with Guinness.
Well, I just think it's when you look at the traditions behind both Guinness and Notre Dame, they're pretty much aligned, and they all are heading the same thing. They're looking for the desire to bring people together, commitments to excellence and being the best, and just a long-standing thing that got me involved with Guinness was um, many years ago. Our girls were jumping horses, and our trainers talked us into go to Ireland to buy some horses, and we were over there and. The one trainer said, "Hey, when this is done, let's go get a pint of Guinness." And I was like, "Okay, I really haven't had it." After the first pint, every day I kept bugging Charlie, "Come on, it's got to be time for a pint. Let's go get another pint." So I enjoy Guinness. Love Notre Dame, love Guinness, and I just think that the two's partnership has nothing but good things to do about celebrating, hopefully, the return of football and sports in general. And it's just great being a part of two organizations and companies that have a great tradition and history.
They say the Guinness tastes different over there. I'm going to have to try it out myself. You mentioned Notre Dame and coming back to play football. What did you think of Notre Dame's decision to play football? It appears right now, obviously things are tenuous with the ACC, but since joining them, it seems like they're going to go forward playing football. I know that Notre Dame has allowed students to return to school. I'd love to just get your thoughts on both of those decisions.
Yeah, joining the ACC, I think one of the things that people always looked at Notre Dame was, I mean, Notre Dame can command almost whatever they want, television wise. And, I know how they think and why share if I can command that on my own. But I think one of the things that held them back was that they weren't a part of some division or conference, that they don't play that extra game, which, doesn't fit in really. And it's tough to figure out, you know, if you add another game, you add a conference championship game into it. Uh, is it easier to rank these teams? Probably, but is it necessary for Notre Dame? I didn't think so, but I think in the long run, I think it'll be good for them, just because it'll answer some of the questions that people have, and hopefully keep them up there in the top where they belong. And obviously, the way to do that, you got to play some good football also. So it'll be fun to see how it works out. Whether the season goes on or not, we'll see. But I think it's going to be tough. It's a contact sport, and just hope you can keep, if they decide to, how do you keep all these guys, um, safe from the virus? And as you can see, baseball tried, and that's not a contact sport, and they struggle with it.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and I also think an interesting thing is for the parents to kind of let their children go. I'd love to know from you, if your son was going to Notre Dame or any other school and was going to play football, how would you feel about it? Would you allow that child to go and play sports right now?
I think it would be a tough decision. I think one of the things we have to look at, I think the most important thing for all of us is to make sure that everyone's, safe and stays healthy. And, you know, can they do that? As of this point in time, I don't see how you do it. When you look around, like I said, you look at basketball, you look at baseball, and these guys are still getting the virus, and it's hard. This is not, if this was a if this was a common cold or something, different story. But this is something that's very serious, and we need to take that into account and try to do the social distancing things that will help keep us all safe and not spread it. And I don't see how they can do that in that type of contact sport.
It's a good point. I actually thought it was interesting, the "We Want to Play" movement. I'm not sure if you're like always on Twitter, but a couple of days ago, that was like a big thing, started by some of the big, the Trevor Lawrences and the Justin Fields of college football. And it wasn't only about "We want to play now," it's that we want a seat at the table. What do you think of these athletes asking for, more opportunity to be part of the decision making, and almost like unionizing as Northwestern tried to do a couple years ago. I'd love to get your thoughts about those players making that decision, not only about we want to play, but we want that seat at the table. We want to be a voice when these decisions are being made.
Well, I think to a certain degree, you have to take into account, what their position is. I mean, you're looking at some of these guys are looking at their, their future. They want to make it to the NFL, and rightly so. You let's just take a step back to last year. If you don't have football last year, there's no Joe Burrows, right? Different player that year than before, and he becomes the number one pick. So all those guys are looking at that thing, thinking about their future in the NFL. And it's okay to let them have a seat at the table and listen and take into account what they would actually like, but somebody has to make a responsible decision, and help them understand that, we know what you're trying to do. We know what you want to accomplish, and we understand your love for this game and where you want to go. But on the other hand, it's our responsibility to make sure you're safe. And if you can't do that, nobody wants to put these kids into danger and, possibly lose a life along the way. So I don't, it's a tough decision, but I see where the guys are coming from, and it's great to be able to have a voice in there. In the decision-making part of it, I'm not sure they're rational enough to do that, because they're totally brainwashed on football like I was, and I'm sure I would be the same way. Love the game, love to play it, hate when you can't, and whether it's injuries or whatever, and something like this holding you back, and all these guys are out there who are talking are the guys who are not affected by it, and hopefully they don't get affected by it. But I think there's more responsible people making those decisions.
It's crazy to talk to a reasonable person these days. Very reasonable line of thinking from Mr. Montana. Do you think college athletes should be paid?
I think there should be something done. How that payment comes, I try to figure it out, but the guys get taken advantage of a lot there. I mean, you can go all the way back to the guy who started this from UCLA and brought on the lawsuit. And yeah, it's hard because you got a lot of kids out there looking to do things, and the opportunity to be able to, you're having success and the university's taking full advantage of it. To be able to share in that, I think, is reasonable. How you do that, I think it's tough to try to decide at a college level which player, the one may be getting more publicity than another. How do you break up the capital that you plan to deploy to all these guys? And does the better player get more money, or depending on, do they get more profits from sales of their jerseys, or however it might be? I think it's tough to figure out, but I think there should be something along the lines.
A lot of complicated issues these days, and I agree with you on both sides of things. People need to be reasonable, and when you're in the moment, it's always harder when you are the athlete. I want to kind of switch over to the NFL, because I know that you had said that you thought it was a mistake that the Patriots let Tom Brady go. Do you still feel that way now that they got Cam Newton?
Absolutely. Cam Newton's not Tom Brady, and I mean he may be a good player, but he's not Tom Brady. Excuse me. And he's, Tom, I don't know how New England let him get away. And I know he wasn't happy there. I'm sure that was part of the, his decision making and the ability to be a part of that offense and things. And when my discussion with Tom was that, hey, they asked my opinion and then they just looked the other way. And so, I think in a lot of ways a couple things really. He wants to be more involved in that. Tampa probably is going to allow him to do that, and he's going to a good team. So, but like I said, I'm just shocked that they actually let him go, knowing the owner's feelings about Tom. I can't imagine him letting him go, but it ended up that way. But Tom's happy, and I'm sure the fans in New England aren't very happy, but we'll see what happens with Cam Newton in there. And, like I said, he's not Tom Brady. So
you mentioned being involved. Are you referring to like player personnel decision making?
No, I think he wanted to be more involved in the offense and things that are
Oh,
getting done and how they were getting done. And, obviously when he's on the field, he has control of that. But, we didn't have enough time to sit down and talk about specifics with him. And, it's just happy to see that he you may see a different Tom Brady because you may see a happy Tom Brady because I think I don't think that inside of him he really wanted to leave New England. He would have rather stayed there, but let's face it, he's in the sunshine.
no taxes too,
He's
no
down,
income
yeah,
tax,
no
no
tax.
state income tax.
He's got a good defense, and the offense put up ridiculous numbers last year. So it'll be fun to see if we get a chance to see what they can do down there.
Well, Tom Brady has big shoes to fill. He's got to go for the 30 touchdown, 30 interception that Jameis Winston accomplished last year. That's going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough thing. I know we're running out of time, but I want to end it with a couple thoughts about the 49ers. Specifically, the 49ers actually have openly expressed that they were, considering Tom Brady. I'd love to know, number one, would you have liked to have seen Tom Brady in Niners gold? And number two, what does that say about Jimmy Garoppolo? Because they gave him a big contract too, and leads him to the Super Bowl, and just wasn't able to make that throw to Emmanuel Sanders in the fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Actually, I don't. I stay away from down there, and especially those type of issues. But I think that adding Tom Brady to your team, no matter who you are or who you have playing, is definitely a plus. Jimmy had a good year, and like you said, he took him to the Super Bowl. So, do you beat him down because they didn't win? No, you can't do that. So bringing on someone like Tom would have definitely added some issues to the team camaraderie, I think. But
Yeah.
in the long run, would have been great. I'm sure Tom would have been great to come back and play here, he grew up here in the Bay Area. So, and I think everybody would love to see him come back here, and would have been a good addition there. But you got a quarterback's playing pretty well. He's a lot younger than Tom, and you got to make that decision. It's a couple years with Tom, or do you want to build this guy who's playing well already, try to keep moving in the right direction?
I think ultimately it was the state income tax.
I think it was the Guinness down there.
It could have been. So I'd love to know, just again, kind of wrapping up, but the 49ers, they made a lot of moves for a team that made the Super Bowl, trading away Buckner, and they had a really busy offseason. I'd love to know what you think of the makeup of this team going into the season, and who you think actually needs to step up for them to take that next step and to win the Super Bowl. Because it's always hard when you lose the Super Bowl to come back and make that kind of a run.
Final question, by the way. Thank you.
I think they're in great position. I think they had a lot of running backs, and when you can improve not only your team, but your access to different new draft choices and things in the future. That's what keeps the team on top. Is you have to be able to keep moving the right pieces around. Bill Walsh was great at this. This guy's almost at the end of his career. We have too many of these guys. Let's get rid of one. We'll get some draft choices. And I think that's how they're positioning themselves. And I think they're in a great position to make another run at it. So if the season happens, it'll be fun to see. And obviously, my guess is if they get back to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to go through Tampa. So, and hopefully we get to see a 49er Chief Super Bowl again.
Well, that was great. Joe, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on here as part of your new deal with Guinness. We look forward to seeing you in the commercials and everything else. And we look forward to, also seeing you have one of those Guinnesses the next time you're in Ireland. You're going to have to do a commercial.
I'm looking forward to celebrating, and hopefully football is back. And if not, and sports in general. And as we celebrate going forward, Guinness and Notre Dame will just say, let's try to do it responsibly.
Absolutely. A perfect way to end it. For Joe Montana, I'm Brian Giuffra. Thanks for tuning in.